All right, we give praise and esteem and honor to the Most High Yah, in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach this day. Let's go to John 5:39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life. And they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Alahym in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and not the honor that come from Alahym only? Do not think that I will accuse you. The Abba, there is one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. But had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me, but not his writings. How should you believe my words? Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 6, about verse 14. Well, you're getting some good words right now, so you can eat that. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. Yes, sir. For what fellowship have righteousness with unrighteousness, and what communion have light with darkness? And what concord have Hamashiach with Belial? Or what part have he that believed with the infidel? Now, we kind of touched on some of this last meeting, right? About how those who forsake the Torah are going to contend with those who keep it. Of course, you know that was in relation with the beast. So we need to look at something right back in the beginning of the book. I mentioned it last night, but we'll grab it right now. Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. After that, I want to say it's Galatians chapter 4, about verse 25. Galatians 3 and 15 says, and I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your seed and her seed, and it shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. So, of course, you know, we mentioned that it's going to be hatred between the serpent seed and the woman's seed. But let's look at something. Back. Let's look at something in Ephesians chapter 4, if I'm not mistaken. What?
You said Genesis 30 and 15, and then you said, all right, now we're going to Galatians.
No, I said we're going to that after. The Galatians was after, so I just made mention. Galatians chapter 4.
Well, it's 13.
4 and 25. Galatians 4 and 25. So well, you heard 15, but I said Galatians 4 and 25.
I thought you said Ephesians.
I said Ephesians or Galatians. I'll figure that out. So, nevertheless. He say, for this, matter of fact, make that verse 23 or 21 is even better. Say, tell me, you that desire to be under Torah, do you not hear Torah? For it is written that Abraham had two sons, the one by a bondmaid, the other by a free woman. But who is he who was of the bondwoman was born after the flesh, but he of the free woman was by promise. Now we know that. So let's hold this here, right? And let's go look at where he got that promise at. So you can understand what he's trying to tell you. Genesis chapter 18. So that's what I want. Genesis chapter 18. To pick it up about verse 6. We're still holding Galatians chapter 4. Now remember he said there's enmity between the woman's seed and the serpent seed. One woman's name was in this. I did keep that in mind. Now remember that goes when the Mashiach told you that what? Fourth is being set apart. Like you can't do that. You can, but you're not going to dwell in his house. And that's guaranteed. And this story is showing you an example of that. It's also showing you an example of being carnal versus being spiritual. Or what we're looking at, which is perfecting Qadash and the fear of Alahym. If you want to perfect being set apart, there's certain things that go along with that. You can't go along to get along to perfect being set apart. Like Yahuwah set apart, all the way set apart. So anybody that come unto him has to be all the way set apart. You can't be somewhat set apart. That's not how that works. Said Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah and said, make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the herd. Abraham ran into the herd and fetched a calf, tender and good, gave it unto a young man. He hasted to dress it. He took butter and milk and the calf which he dressed and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. And they said unto him, where is Sarah your wife? He said, behold, in the tent. He said, I will certainly return unto you according to the time of life. Lo, Sarah your wife shall have a son. Sarah heard it in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Sarah there laughed within herself, saying, I am waxed old. Shall I have pleasure, my Lord, being old also? Yahuwah said unto Abraham, wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I surely bear a child which am old? Is anything too hard for Yahuwah? At the time appointed, I will return unto you according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Now, now remember what you've seen in Galatians 4. He said, for those of you that desire to be under the law, what does the law say? Well, the law say that he made a direct promise. That's what the law say. See, and that goes along with what we were discussing about if you're going to be contending with the beast and his minions, it's because you're holding fast to the promise. This is why he said, how can you say that you are of Mashiach and you have concord or agreement with someone or something that is worthless? Because he doesn't do that. Do you know what I'm saying? Say, what fellowship does light have with darkness? So these are the things that have to be considered. But before we come back to Galatians chapter 4, let's take a roll over here to Romans 4. 4 and 16 is sufficient. Romans 4 and 16. Say, therefore, it is a faith that it might be by grace, to the end the promise might be sure to all the seed, not to that only which is of Torah, but that also which is of faith of Abraham, who was the Abba of us all. As it is written, I've made you a father of many nations, before him whom he believed, even Alahym, who quickened the dead, and called those things which be not as though they were. Who against hope believed in hope, that he might become the father of many nations, according to that which was spoken, so shall thy seed be. And being now weak in faith, he considered not his own body, now dead, when he was about 100 years old, neither yet the deadness of Sarah's womb. He staggered not at the promise of Alahym through unbelief, but was strong in faith, giving esteem to Alahym, and being fully persuaded that he had promised, that what he had promised he was able to perform, therefore it was imputed to him for righteousness. Now it was not written for his sake alone that it was imputed to him, but for us also, to whom it shall be imputed, if we believe on him that raised up Yahusha our Lord from the dead, who was delivered for our offenses and raised again for our justifications. So when we look at the statement that he just made, right, what do you gather from what Paul just stated?
Basically, just
He mentioned that there, but he mentioned something greater right behind that.
he was able to perform.
Not even that. He mentioned that if you have the faith, listen, like to see how you got to catch it, right? Look at verse 19. Verse 19 will give you a clue into what he said after that, which is greater than what he said before that, when he make a mention of what we read in Galatians. For you that are under the law, what does the law say? In verse 19, he said he was not weak in faith, not considering that his own body, now dead, when he was about 100 years old, and neither yet the deadness of Sarah's womb, and he didn't stagger at the promise. Then he comes behind that and tells you it was imputed for righteousness to his sake, but not only his sake alone, but everybody who would believe on Yahusha afterwards, that he rose him from the dead. So what is that pointing to as far as the scripture is concerned? We just read one last night in Psalms chapter 4 when he said, I will strengthen you while you languish on your bed, and I will make you in your bed in your illness. Meaning that Yahusha didn't stagger at the promise of him being resurrected from the dead, not considering that his body was dead, knowing that this man is able to perform what he told him he would do. He told you in John 12 about verse 49, my Father gave me a commandment, what I should say and what I should speak. And I know his commandment is life everlasting. So if you believe that he resurrected from the dead, then you would be the same as Abraham. See, that's what the point that it's telling you about. The story ain't just about Abraham. Let me read that verse to you again in verse 21. He's saying, being fully persuaded that what he had promised he was able to perform, therefore it was imputed to him for righteousness. Now it is not written for his sake alone. It was imputed to him, that it was imputed to him, but for us also, to whom it shall be imputed, if we believe on him that raised up Yahushua our Lord from the dead. So when you look at it, right, it says Sarah's womb was what? Dead. So a child coming from her womb is actually a similitude of Yahushua coming out of the womb or coming out of the grave of a promise that was made. If you believe that promise, then you would be the same as Abraham. He would impute it to you for righteousness' sake. See, and remember, in the book of Acts, Yahushua told Paul that they might receive inheritance in those who are sanctified by faith that is in me. So if you want to perfect Qadashness, if that's the goal, then to perfect that, also it says in the fear of Alahym, then you have to perfect the thing that sets men apart, which is your faith. And then after that, you're going to reverence and honor your father in any and everything that you do. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be no issue to say, you know what? My father wouldn't be pleased with that. So like I mentioned y'all last night, imagine if it was stuff that people asked you to do and you went to do and you had to go ask Yah himself. Literally, like he's right there. Let me go ask my daddy first. It's a lot of stuff you wouldn't even ask him to do. That people even bring it, but you go do it anyway. Or what's the word I'm looking for? You entertain it or contemplate it. You only do that because you feel like, well, he ain't right there, so he ain't going to be too upset about it. Or I'm willing to take the consequences later. That's a bad mindset to have. You can't have that mindset. Let's come back to Galatians chapter 4. What I was starting at? I'll read verse 21. Galatians 4:21. Tell me, you that desire to be under Torah, do you not hear Torah? For it is written that Abraham had two sons, the one by a bondmaid, the other by a free woman. But he was of the bondwoman was born after the flesh, but he of the free woman was by promise, which is an allegory. For there are two covenants. The one from Mount Sinai was gender to bondage, which is Agar. But this Agar is Mount Sinai in Arabia, in answer to Jerusalem, which now is and is in bondage with her children. But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is mother of us all. For it is written, rejoice, you barren that bear not, break forth and cry, you that travail not, for the desolate have more children than she which have a husband. Now we, brethren, as Isaac was, are the children of promise. But as then he that was born after the flesh persecuted him that was born after the Ruach, even so it is now. And that takes us back to why we started in Genesis 3:15 and showing you what agreement has Hamashiach with Belial. Because there will be, I don't care how you feel about it. I don't care how close you think you is to somebody. If they are of the serpent seed, then they are of the devil. And if they're of the devil, there is an underlying disdain and hatred for you. I don't care who they are or what you think. All that's going to have to get pressed to is self-preservation. Because if you think they're going to die for you or your God, you foolish. Because they're going to say they self. Because they don't believe what you believe. And this is the words of Alahym. It's not my personal opinion. Did not the law say that there's a hatred between the woman seed and the serpent seed? Did this man not just let you know that the children of the flesh persecute the children of the Ruach as it is this day? That's just what it is. Doesn't matter how you feel. Doesn't matter who it is. You know what I'm saying? And you know why we have a hard time delineating that? Because you look at your personal relationships you have with people versus looking at how y'all see people. Y'all don't look at nobody and say, well, that's his mama, so she's not going to feel that way. You know what I'm saying? Because guess what? If your people hate your father, how do you think they're going to feel about his household? You know what I'm saying? That's going to really manifest in the times that we were talking about. That's why he said those that forsake Torah will contend with those who keep it. When that time come manifesting, this man out here teaching people right now, like most of y'all people getting ready to go stand on the beach Sunday morning. Get up early Sunday morning, put on the nice best outfit. And if you was to tell them anything contrary to what they finna do, it's going to be an argument. It may not be a knockdown, drag out argument, but it's going to be some terse words spoken. You know what I'm saying? They may not say nothing to you about you keeping Passover. They don't care. You know what I'm saying? But if you was to say because they forsaken Torah, now at the same token, they don't know Torah either. You know what I'm talking about? But if you was to say, you know, uncle, you know Easter ain't in the Bible. You know you ain't got no business doing that. So you've been doing Easter your whole life. Now you on that new stuff. They start talking slick. They start talking slick. You ain't even trying to convert them. You just trying to hit them off with some information. Do you know where it come from? Do you know the roots? They go to talking slick, and you thinking this your people. You ain't never seen your people react or do y'all any kind of way till you started following y'all. They ain't never used to talk to you like that, try you like that. You think it's about you though. That's how they feel about Yahuwah. They ain't got nothing to do with you. If they hate Yahuwah, how they can love you? Now ask yourself that question. You say you love y'all. You say y'all love you. Your people despise him and hate him. How could they possibly and genuinely love you in the complete sense of how Yah says what it is? Not on no natural level. Because they very well probably love you on a natural level. But how Yah say love work? How can they love you if they hate him and you say you love him? How's that possible? That's not possible, is it? See, let me show you why it's not possible. Come over here to John chapter 8. 8 and 42. Just this quick little statement. It's going to be impossible for him to do it. Yahushua said unto them, if Alahym were your Abba, you would love me, for I proceed forth and came from Alahym, neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Wherefore do you not understand my speech? Because you cannot hear my word. You above your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not the truth, because there is no truth in him. And when he speak a lie, he speak of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. That's why they got a problem with you, because their dad is the devil, and it is what it is. I don't care who it is in relation to you. I don't care if they're alive. I don't care if they're dead. If they didn't serve Yahuwah, this exact same thing that this man just said out of his mouth, that's the reality of it. Now sit back and look at your people. When I say your people, anybody you know, anybody you kick it with, anybody you care about, do they works not show that they of their father the devil and the lust of their father? That's what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is what it is. So you think that there's not going to be enmity between you and them? And this is what the law said. It's not what I say. I just don't want you to be shocked about it. You know what I'm saying? Periodically throughout the year, you got to mention it. I mean, we go enough throughout the year, so it has to be mentioned. I just don't want you to be shocked by it. You know what I'm saying? Don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. Y'all remember what's in Luke? Who he said we're going to turn on you? That didn't say all your people, your kinsmen. People going to turn on you. Who turned on Samson? His own kind. That's usually what happens. Come on back to Galatians chapter 4. Matter of fact, yeah, Galatians chapter 4. Man. We finish it on verse 30 and 31, and then we go back to 2 Corinthians chapter 6. Yeah, verse 30. Silence. Silence. Stay over there where you at, sir. You ain't funny. You're supposed to be your homeboy. Yes, you can read in quiet. Nevertheless, what say the scripture? Cast out the bondwoman and her son, for the son of the bondwoman shall not be heir with the son of the free woman. So then, brethren, we are not children of the bondwomen, but of the free. So what do you take from that statement that he's quoting from the Torah that Sarah said when she said, get rid of that bondwoman? What do you take from that statement? What would you gather from that? And we talking about perfecting Qadash in the fear of Alahym? Or do we need to see what she told her to get out? Who needs to see what she told her to get out? Huh? No, I mean, what do you gather from the fact of what he just stated? She told the bondwoman to get out, that you will not inherit with my son. So
That the righteous unrighteous can't be together.
boom. See, if you were sitting on your butt, that wouldn't happen. Take a lot of injuries, son. You ain't got to take. Don't look back at your mother. She has no sympathy for you.
Oh, go sit down.
What you see from that one there is that the Ruach and the carnal cannot exist in the same place. You know what I'm saying? If you of the promise, if you're going to perfect being set apart, you perfected it according to the promise. So anything that's contrary to the promise is going to be ejected. See, come back to John 8, and we'll read the part that I had mentioned, and then we'll come back to 2 Corinthians chapter 6. John 8:31. Then said Yahushua to those Yahudim which believed on him, If you continue in my word, then you are my disciples indeed, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. They answered him, we be Abraham's seed, we were never in bondage to any man. How say you, you shall be made free? Yahushua said, answered them, truly, truly, I say unto you, whosoever commits sin is the servant of sin, and the servant abide not in the house forever, but the son abide forever. So he's got to get rid of you. But why is this the case when we look at the Torah? Let's take a look at what it is. Leviticus chapter 19. After that, we can get 1 Peter where he gonna quote it, but Peter just add a little bit more around it. Leviticus 19 and 1. Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto all the congregation of Yasharal, and say unto them, you shall be Qadash, for I, Yahuwah, your Alahym, am Qadash. You shall fear every man his mother and his father, and keep my Shabbats. I am Yahuwah, your Alahym. Turn you not unto idols, nor make to yourselves molten gods. I am Yahuwah, your Alahym. So what did he give you a commandment to be? To set yourself apart. I'll pull some of this stuff in here, right? What are some of the attributes that make Yahuwah set apart of what the text details that any of you can remember? He details to you what makes him set apart. What are some of those attributes that makes him set apart? Yeah, I'm talking about from the text that y'all know. The text details.
Are you doing something specifically the stuff that he said, like
stuff that he said, stuff that he said that pertains to him that makes him set apart. Like
when he begins iniquity to the third and fourth generation.
You said just balance. I got. There's another part where he said in Job that he said he's an Alahym who commits no iniquity. You know what I'm saying? So this is one of the things that make him set apart. You mentioned, like I said, how he doesn't lie. You mentioned how he's forgives, but then you also got what he say he's an Alahym of what? That too, but he also he's an Alahym of judgment, abundant in goodness and truth. So when you look at that, these are the things that make him set apart. He said that he's set apart, so you need to be set apart. So then you have to look at the things which makes him set apart, because these are the things that you have to perfect. If you don't perfect those things, and as we get to it in 2 Corinthians, that's going to show that you don't actually believe the promises that he made, because this is what Abraham did after that promise was made. He perfected the set apartness of Alahym with reverence for Alahym in the same token, and we're going to look at that. And this allows an individual who is of Yah to understand all things, as we had read that in that Proverbs 28 and 5. You know, evil men don't understand judgment. Those who seek Yahuwah understand, period. It don't say all things. It just says they understand. See, if you don't seek Yahuwah, you can never understand. You won't understand his will. You won't understand his ways. Get from under this table and go back over there where you came from. Go back. This ain't playtime, cuz. Go back. You're not going to be able to catch that and grasp that, and that's how you're going to end up being deceived. That's why I say if it were possible, the very elect would be deceived. So if you've been chosen, it's because you understand all things, because you sought Yahuwah. How could you be deceived? Come over here to what was it? 1 Peter chapter 1, about verse 9, maybe about verse 12. About verse 13. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 13. Look here, this is not playtime, and you know it.
No, you don't. You want to sit behind you, still up.
And you just lied. And you just lied. Shame. And Mara, where you at? Mara, get in the chair so you can be seen. Wherefore gird up the loins of your mind, be sober, and hope to the end for the grace that is brought unto you at the revelation of Yahushua HaMashiach, as obedient children, not fashioning yourselves according to your former lusts and your ignorance, but as he which have called you is Qadash, so be you Qadash in all manner of conduct. Because it is written, Be ye Qadash, for I am Qadash. So you need to set yourself apart. Now I'm gonna let y'all think upon the word Qadash. Y'all should know how to spell it. Who know how to spell it off the top of their head? You know how to spell it off the top of your head? How you spell it off the top of your head? You missing one. You gotta remember they don't spell it how you would spell it. It's got an O in it. So you're missing the U is what you're missing. And the modern student, they ain't gonna spell it. It's not gonna have the A.
Hey, y'all stop playing.
Mark.
So you got Kuf, Dalet, U, and Sean. I'll give you a moment. I'll give you a Kuf, Dalet, U, and Sean. Because that's what you're trying to perfect, is being set apart. And you know duration. Y'all need a little bit longer. You drunk it all, cuz. Yes, you quenched your thirst. Got Kuf, Dalet, U, and Sean. Like I say, right, perfecting that is what Yahusha did, and that's what's going to allow you to receive the Ruach HaKodesh and get everlasting life. Like he mentioned, he said Abraham didn't consider the deadness of Sarah's womb. You know what I'm saying? Yahusha didn't consider the fact that he would die. He said his flesh rested in hope, that he wouldn't suffer. His Qadash wanted to see corruption. Like you have to believe that. There's a reason why the resurrection of the dead come up so much throughout the book. And it's also going to perfect Qadash that lets you know that you cannot serve two masters. Boy, you finna fall out that chair, boy. Mara, get up there in that chair, because here's Mara down there playing with it.
No, it's not like that.
You got to think about that, right? Like, most people ain't willing to be set apart. You got to remember, like this here, right? A prime example of that is Lot's wife. What happened to her? Very simple story. Everybody's sure. Because she was looking back, but it wasn't just because she was looking back. And you got to ask yourself: are you still trying to reach back and go back when this man is sanctifying you away from that? Because you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Either you gonna walk. Matter of fact, in Isaiah 35, he said, he told you that there would be a highway there. Does anybody remember what he told you that highway would be called?
The way of Qadash.
Way of Qadash. So how are you gonna be able to walk on this? And he said the unclean cannot enter therein. So if he's setting you apart to be on a road that is set apart from every other road, then why are you trying to turn back around? This is why Yahusha told you, remember Lot's wife. What did he tell your forefathers when they came out of Egypt? What is one of the things he told them not to do in regards to Egypt? He told them don't go back. Don't go back. You know what I'm saying? And we know what a lot of us try to do. We feel like, and I think it comes from the society that we in, not necessarily people's mind frames, just naturally. I feel like it comes from the society that we in, that you can get God and everything else along with that. You know what I'm saying? Or you can serve God and still be in the world and still do things and food. And Yah is not with that. He wants you to be over here with him and be over here with me. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're going to be over here with them, then you got to understand that I hate them over here. So then I'm going to classify. It ain't no different what in that parable that Yahushua said when he said, you know what? I'm going to appoint you your portion with the hypocrites, the unbelievers, because you said I delayed my coming. He ain't coming no time soon. So I can come over here and do this and go over here and do that and go over here and do that. And he said, you know what? That's cool. But I'm going to catch you when you're not looking for me. And when I catch you, I'm going to cut your head off. You know what I'm saying? And you have to realize that, right? If we talk about being perfected, you say you want to perfect your faith and what you're doing, and you have to realize that it is a lonely road, so to speak. It's not a road where you can intertwine with any and everybody and still serve Yah in completeness. You're not going to be able to do it. Not when he said to be set apart. You would realize that if you don't set yourself apart, you breaking the Torah. It don't matter how much pork you don't eat, how many Shabbats you keep. If you're not fully sanctifying yourself, you still broke the law because he commanded you to do that to be an example of his set apartness. We don't do that. Like you have to look at it as, would Yah do it? Would Yah go here? Would Yah compromise that? Would Yah put his, well, I can't say that because his will come before everything. But you'd have to look at Yahushua in that regard. Shalom, Brother Jenny. You'd have to look at it as, if you're going to put your will before his because you want to gratify yourself. Then you have to sit back and look at it. If sinners are asking you to do things that could cause you to compromise your God, that persuasion does not come from the man who called you. You're supposed to have enough wisdom and discernment to even understand that. Why would a nigga hit you up knowing you'd have to compromise your God's day for them? Why would you even, would Yahushua consider that? No, he wouldn't consider it. I'm about my Father's business, so I can't do that. See, we do that because you don't fear him. If you was afraid of him, you wouldn't even dare consider it. See, you don't fear him, so you'll consider it. That's not a big deal. He ain't gonna do nothing. That's why some of these children be trying stuff they don't really fear you. Don't think you're gonna do nothing. They figure they'll let me slide. I'll get away with it. They'll just give me a stern talking to. That's how they feel, though. That's why they try. They give me a firm talking to. I can get around it. You know what I'm saying? But notice what it said, and I keep mentioning we ain't ready yet, though. He said, perfecting Qadash in the fear of Alahym. So when you perfect and being set apart, you're doing it with your reverence and respect that you have for him. Oh, you ain't coming over here with all that, cuz. You're going to come over here and you're going to lay down like a young gentleman. You're going to take your rest. Come on, because you're tired.
Hey, the bathroom is the other option.
Well, if you're going to lay down like that, go and knock you out some push-ups then. Mari, lay down and be quiet. Okay, what y'all came up with that? Koof, Dollar, Ooh, and Sean. Did anybody come up with something?
I got the light, the peg to the nail, to enter the door.
What I just said. I ask you what you want.
Anybody else? You say that for me again.
The light that'll peg you to the nail to enter the door.
All right. Anybody else got something for that? Anybody? Well, this does go for Koof. What are the meanings of Koof? You have final, you have light, and you have what else? Horizon.
I think final, yeah. Circle.
And you got a circle. So dollar, you got door and you got hang, and what else? Leave her hair alone.
Yeah, to move back and forth.
Move back and forth. You got your entrance. And then for ooh, you got what? Security and what else?
Nail, look, add, join together, means and.
And then for Sean, you got what? Consume and the what? And the pair.
Destroy, consume, here, ready. Press, sharp, beat.
So even like this here, right? How you mentioned that Sean can mean cutting, right? Because you got the teeth in that character. You could take that Koof and see how that final hanging or final sacrifice or the things referring to Yahushua's sacrifice, period. And this was pointing to making you set apart. Because he got cut. He was secured. What was he secured to? To the stake. You know that he was hanged on the stake. And you know that he was the final or last sacrifice for that. You know what I'm saying? Which is just a difference of other definitions that he used for his to make it a little bit more vivid, where you can see what he's talking about and one that he used. So when you see what's making you set apart, what's actually making you set apart? It's his sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? So when you see what his sacrifice in, what was his sacrifice rooted in? Of how he perfected his Qadashness in the fear of Alahym. He perfected it because of his faith. He had to believe to get up there in the first place. Now, every person in here done got baptized, so you pretty much said, what? I believe, I'm nailing myself to the tree. I'm not considering the death of Sarah's womb. I'm fully, and you can't have agreement with Belial. You can't have concord with darkness. That's not gonna make any sense because your Alahym don't do that. See, come over here to Job 34. All right. You set yourself up for a very bad ending, and I hate to see that happen to you.
Sit down.
Make sure I got the verse. Job 34. We'll pick it up at verse 9. Matter of fact, make it about verse 5. Job 34 and 5. Are you going to lay down? Would you like some help? Let me move this out of your way. Take your leave. Job 34 and 5 says, matter of fact, we'll just go at verse 1. Verse 1 of words. Job, the more Alahym who answer, get your feet off the wall. Son. It's not. Furthermore, Alahym who answered and said, hear my words, O you wise men. Give ear unto me, you that have knowledge. For the ear try words as the mouth tastes meat. What does that relate to? Did anybody can recall what epistle letter that verse 3 relates to? For the ear try words, the mouth tastes meat. Does anybody have an idea what epistle letter this relates to? The ear try words as the mouth tastes meat? No, it said the ear try words.
Quick listening, so to speak.
No. This would be 1 John chapter 4 and verse 1. To try all the spirits, whether they be of Alahym. Because many false prophets have gone into the world. Because he said, my ear trying what you're saying. Same way, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, hey, that need a little bit more salt on that. You know what I'm saying? No. So you have to look at that, right? Because if you know Alahym, what does that go to? What we've been talking about. What the beast's gonna be out there doing? Teaching. So your ear gonna try his words, and you go, these are not the words of Alahym. How else you gonna know that unless you perfected Qadash in the fear of Alahym? Because you're gonna know the gospel. He can't deceive you because you're trying to, you know, a lot of people hear the word, they see somebody with a book and just listen to him. Right now, no cap, nigga can say he a Hebrew Israelite, nigga ain't even gonna really be discerning on what the nigga talking about. Nigga tell him anything. Nigga be like, well, hey man, he doing the work. He waking the people up. But he telling lies though. And you cool with that. Because he a Hebrew. You know what I'm saying? He ain't Christian, so he got to know what he talking about. That's not good. Listen what he tell you though. Let us choose to us judgment. Let us know among ourselves what is good. So now he said you need to choose what? You need to choose judgment. And what is our Alahym is? He's an Alahym of judgment, as we seen in Deuteronomy 32. He's an Alahym of judgment. Let's see which word for judgment is here. I would definitely go with Mishpat, but always good to check. Now what epistle letter lets us know how we, and that's what it is. Now what epistle letter lets us know about how we would know what is good? Because he said, let us choose to us judgment. Let us know among ourselves what is good. What epistle letter lets you know how you can know among yourself what is good? I know it's obscure. We digging deep, see if it's deep down in the seat of your soul.
Is it in the book of James?
I ain't in the book of James. I don't have one either. No. That lets you know when that take us back to what he told you in the epistle to the Hebrews, when he was like, if you a babe, you need milk. Those who are full age, by reason of use, can discern by their senses between good and evil. See, when you can only know what's good because you have judgment. And how can you have judgment unless you've used it? You can't have good judgment if you don't use it. You know what I'm saying? No, sir. Down. on your body. Ain't nobody up there for you. You know what I'm saying? You can't. You know why a lot of people in the Word got horrible judgment? Because they don't use it. You haven't chosen judgment, so how would you be able to be able to know what is good? And to be able to know what is good is how you be able to sanctify yourself. In regards to we talk about perfecting, hold on one second. Let me see if they got the word for choose here. And it's got bakar, which is the other word for elect. So when you see that, you got how the highest son separates. When he chooses you, he's separating you. So if you choose in judgment, you choosing to separate yourself under Alahym. Let's continue. He say, for Job have said, I am righteous, and Alahym take away my judgment. Should I lie against my right? My wound is incurable without transgression. What man is like Job? You wouldn't think about that. Don't you do it, Mara, because you wasn't thinking about it. Don't you pull on that. Don't you do it. Let it go. Let it go.
Lay down.
You lost the blanket. Sit there and look ugly because nobody cares. He say, which go in company with workers of iniquity and walk with wicked men. For he said, it profit a man nothing that he should delight himself with Alahym. Therefore hearken unto me, you men of understanding. Far be it from Alahym that he should do wickedness, and from the Almighty that he should commit iniquity. For the work of a man shall he render unto him, and cause every man to find according to his ways. Yea, surely Alahym will not do wickedly, neither will the Almighty pervert judgment. So we see right here from the mouth of Elihu, you know one thing about Alahym, he will not pervert judgment, he will not commit iniquity, and he will not do wickedly. He sets himself apart in that regard. Now let's take a look at something else. Let's go back to 2 Corinthians chapter 6, so I can get to the crux of what I got. We pick it up at verse 14 yet again. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship have righteousness with unrighteousness, and what communion have light with darkness? And what concord have Hamashiach with Belial, or what part he that believe with an infidel? Let's ask yourself a question, right? Y'all know the definition of an infidel? You know? Well, that's what the Arab, I'm talking about the English definition. I'm going to pull the Greek definition. But an infidel is basically a non-believer. So if you go over there in Arabia, they might tell you an idiot. They call you an infidel. The Greek word for infidel means someone who is faithless and unfaithful and not to be trusted. Also someone who is incredulous and unbelieving. So the reason. So now we have to ask ourselves the question: what would Satan be considered to be? Would he consider to be faithful or faithless? So then what agreement would Yah have with him? He would. So then you have to look at Joseph. What agreement would you have with that? If you say you are Alahym, you wouldn't have no agreement with it. Guess what I do? Let's look at the next thing that he states. What agreement have the temple of Alahym with idols? For you are the temple of the living Alahym. As Alahym has said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their Alahym, and they shall be my people. What are some of the things that the book classifies as idolatry outside of worshiping God? They said that say rebellion is witchcraft. It's in the same verse that you were referencing. Yeah, stubbornness is as idolatry. Covetousness is as idolatry. You know what I'm saying? According to what the text states. But also idolatry is anything that you set in your heart that come before Alahym. So if you said in your mind, oh, I can do this here on the Shabbat, ain't no big deal. I just ain't gonna go out there with him. You just set an idol up in your heart because this came before your God, and he gonna penalize you for that. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people do it all the time. But like I say, the people, this society, especially like I would say from probably Sunday churches more than anything, but this society period make you feel like you can be lackadaisical in your service to Alahym and still live your life and still be saved in the same token. And that's not what Yah states. Yah wants full. He say he's an Alahym who is a Ruach, and he seek those that worship him to worship him in Ruach and in truth. That means you fully devoted. That's Second Corinthians 5 say we no longer live for ourselves, but him that died and rose again from the dead. See, that's not imparted unto people. Your life doesn't belong to you anymore. You shouldn't be trying to live for yourself anymore. Not if you come to serve Yahuwah, because you're trying to get a great reward that he don't owe you. See, the thing that we end up getting in our minds is that he owes you mercy. He owes you forgiveness. He owes you the reward. Because what? I don't eat pork. Instead of fornicating, I got married. I don't commit adultery. But you ain't fully committed and turned your whole heart over to him. So in his eyes, you might as well have done all of those things. What was the big error for the rich man? The rich man in Matthew, what was his biggest error? What was he not willing to do? He wasn't willing to forsake everything that he had. Meaning he had idols in his heart. I keep all the laws. He said, I've been doing that since I was a kid. But to give his whole life up and serve this man, he wasn't willing to do that. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't willing to do that. That's why they say, hey, man, they say, well, who can be saved then? Because you don't have it in your mind that you got to give your whole life up. I still want to go do this here and do this here, and I can compromise here and compromise there, and you're not going to get a full reward. That man gave his whole life up. See, you forgetting that. See, this is the month where that gets played out throughout the whole earth, whether you keep Easter, whether you keep Passover. That topic is reiterated throughout the whole world in the month of April. You're going to have some people standing out there on the beach. It's just the sun. You can come out there any other day of the week. Oh, yeah, they do it. You have a lot of churches that do it. They go right out there at the beach early in the morning and watch the sunrise and say, see, Resurrection Sunday, the Lord has risen. And you like to hear, you are definitely sun worshiping. Every day. Every day. You could go down there tomorrow. That nigga gonna rise. You understand me? You can go down there tomorrow. He gonna be there. They say it ain't the same unless you go to the beach because it's facing the east. I done seen that on the front page of the Florida Times Union. You know what I'm saying? Other people down there on the beach. At his best. But in their mind, they remembering who? They remembering his work. In their mind, that's what they feel like they're doing. Just like you got some rules, every brew around here. Oh, you ain't killed your lamb? Kill my lamb for what? I don't need to kill no lamb. The lamb was killed 2,000 years ago. I'm not going to go out there and cut no lamb's neck. Then I told you they don't do it right, because then you got to kill the lamb and roast him whole. You gotta let all no, you can't break none of his bones. So when you kill him, you gotta make sure you don't break none of his bones. Can't break none of his bones. You gotta roast him whole. Oh, you gotta drain the blood out. You know we can't eat no meat like that. Yeah, you gotta slit his neck. You gotta slit his neck and let him bleed out. Because you can't break none of his bones. Then you gotta take him and you gotta roast him whole. Like you can't take him and dice him up. Oh, we got lamb chops. No.
So you got to skin him?
You got to skin him.
Okay, you said roast him whole.
Oh yeah, I mean you got to put him on a little thing and let him roast. Can't cut him up. You got to put him on a rotisserie and let him roast. You got to roast. You got to bring your bitter herbs. You know what I'm saying? And all that good stuff.
So you can't gut him.
No, you can't gut him.
Just skin him.
Got to skin him. Got to skin him, roast him whole. Can't gut him. Come on, let's read it. You can't gut him. Exodus chapter 12. You can't gut him. They probably did. I can't call it. I know I would have passed.
You gotta roast them whole.
You gotta roast them whole.
And then cook. You ain't gonna get no blood.
Yeah, if you drain all the blood out, there ain't gonna be no blood in his organs. They just gonna be in there. I mean, you could cut the flesh out around. It'd be what? Probably would be. Probably would be. Exodus chapter 12. About verse 4 or verse 3. Say, speak to you unto all the congregation of Yasharal, saying, in the 10th day of this month, they shall take to them every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. So what you would have done, see, this is what they're not realizing, right? Where they make this mistake at. It wouldn't have necessarily, it wasn't a congregational thing with the offering of that lamb. This was a lamb that was made in every individual's person's house. So you would have got a lamb big enough to feed your household. You know what I'm saying? It just wasn't a communal lamb that everybody made.
I got a question for that. So if this, you know how many lambs that gotta be without blemish for every household individual?
A lot.
But you gotta think, everybody, why don't say everybody?
They were shepherds.
Yeah, but I'm saying all of them have to be blameless.
Yeah.
But you know, that's why I look at.
Listen what he tell you though. Now listen, right? Listen what he say now. He gives you a provision. He say, if the household be too little for the lamb, then and his neighbor next unto his house take according to the number of souls every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. So if there ain't a lot of people in your house, you go to next door neighbor's house. Save the lamb. Save the lamb.
Like a million. It was over a million.
Yeah.
People.
But you wouldn't necessarily, it's not a million lambs per person. It's one lamb per household. So you're getting a lamb enough to feed your household.
Sometimes one lamb per 2 households.
Yeah.
Or 3 households.
Or 3.
I still think it was over a million households.
No, it said it was 600,000 men, not counting women in turn. So,
no, I'm talking about when they was keeping custom like.
But at that point, they were not sacrificing lambs in their house. See, that's what I'm saying. Where we lack understanding of the text now, because that sacrifice of that lamb was not a congregational sacrifice. That was a sacrifice that individuals had to do in their own house.
They didn't have to.
Yeah, no, I was saying when they were keeping the tradition, I was saying.
When they were keeping the tradition at that point, the sacrifice of the lamb was did at the temple. The people didn't have to sacrifice the lamb. You know what I'm saying?
Man, they want to put blood on their door every year.
They don't put blood. Still thinking about roasting it, all that blood. Everything was putting blood on the door.
No, they didn't do all that, because if you coming up to Jerusalem, then you're not going to be at your house doing it. How are you going to be able to do it at your house if you're in Jerusalem? Not going to be able to do it, because that was only a one-time thing. Yeah, that was just a one-time thing. But most of our people feel like you're supposed to do that every year. What's up, little buddy? He says, your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out from out the sheep or from out the goats. And you shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month. The whole assembly of the congregation of Yasharal shall kill it in the evening. And you shall take of the blood and strike it on the 2 doorposts and the upper doorposts of the houses where they shall eat it. They shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, with the purtenance thereof. So hold on, let's see what purtenance.
Yeah, I know what purpose.
Yeah, purtenance. Just got to, not purtenance. We just got to do that for clarification's sake.
Yeah, he the whole thing that night.
Yeah, anything, and we're going to read it. Anything they didn't eat, they was going to have to throw it away.
Mark. Leave the bathroom. Boy, get up.
The word for pertinence is karab, and it means its inward parts, inner part, entrails. So you had to cook him, as we stated, you had to cook him with everything in it. Couldn't pull out the heart, couldn't pull out the liver, couldn't pull out the intestines. You was going to have to, oh, that's why they were doing that? No, because it was like a whole bunch of tabs and other things.
Oh, every time with mouth.
And I thought I was tripping.
You were tripping.
You know what I mean? That would explain it. But you see that there though? You see that Lee? Because Lee was mentioning that they had to cook him with everything in it. And he said he better not be raw, so you better pay attention to him while you cooking it. And he said you couldn't use no water. You had to roast it. You know how long it take to roast a whole lamb? No, they couldn't start till that night. See, that's the thing what we're looking at. You can't be like, oh, let's start a little bit early. No, he said you got to kill him in the evening and start then. See, remember what verse 6 say? You got to keep him up to the 14th day and kill him in the evening. So you couldn't start. You can't do like people do on Thanksgiving and start a day early. You do that, you transgressing. You out of pocket. You know what I'm saying? You out of pocket. No. He said kill him in the evening. It's just something that simple. You do that thinking we could just save some time. And now you done see him. Just that quick. Now look what he said, right? And then you shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remain of it until the morning, you're going to burn with fire. And I done seen Bruce be like, we eat all the food, we got to throw it away. You niggas idiots. You know what I'm saying? Just because you in your zeal to keep the law and thinking you pleasing Yah, you really showing him that you have no understanding at all. And the book says if you lack understanding, you are worthy of death. Basically, if you didn't eat all the meat, you had to burn it up. Make it pot, throw it in the fire, burn it up. Ain't nobody gonna eat it. Burn it, can't eat it. If all y'all ain't eat that lamb that night, morning time comes, gotta burn that nigga. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why a lot of brews be like, if we ain't eat all the food that they feast, they would throw them away. They would throw the food away. That's just a lack of understanding. Come back to 2 Corinthians chapter 6. You're talking that water bottle shit. Let's start this on the other side. Thanks, sir. That's a Walgreens one? That's a Walgreens? I seen that nice. I had to make sure I was accurate. How that water taste? And I see it said that's Iceland. It's Iceland pure.
Quite refreshing.
We in verse 16 to 2 Corinthians chapter 6. And what agreement have the temple of Alahym with idols? For you are the temple of the living Alahym. As Alahym have said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their Alahym, and they shall be my people. Wherefore, come out from among them and be you separate, saith Yahuwah, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. Let's look at Isaiah 52 of where that comes from. Who else told you to come out from among them? Somebody else told you to do it. Isaiah 52 and 8. Book of Revelation told you to do it. Forth in Babylon. Come out from my people and be not partakers of our sins. And that's the part about perfecting Qadash is that your faith will allow you to be set apart and you will remove yourself. Your watchmen shall lift up the voice, with the voice together shall they sing, for they shall see eye to eye when Yahuwah shall bring again Zion. Break forth into joy. Sing together, you waste places of Jerusalem. For Yahuwah have comforted his people. He have comforted Jerusalem. Yahuwah have made bare his Qadash arm in the eyes of all the nations, and all the ends of the earth shall see the salvation of Alahym, which if you can't tell, that's the coming of the Lord. If you weren't able to recognize that. He said, depart you, go you out from thence, touch no unclean thing, go you out the midst of her, be ye clean that bear the vessels of Yahuwah. So he told you to get out from among them. Let's look at Revelation 18, what I meant. He told you need to separate. Once you separate, he will receive you. And that takes us back to what we were looking at with Abraham, Hagar, and Sarah, right? He told them to separate. Separate that unclean person or that carnal person from amongst you, and I can receive you. If you won't do it, I can't accept you. Revelation chapter 18. Picking up about verse 2, I surmise. I know a lot of people were highly upset, at least people on my timeline, how much money they raised for the little cathedral that got burned down. They say it was three churches that got burned in Louisiana, which I had no knowledge of. Truth be told, I wouldn't give two flying Londons about any one of those places that got burned down. They all houses of ill repute. 700 million. You know, the Notre Dame Cathedral, 850 years old. You know what I'm saying? Almost a millennium old. You think them white folks ain't gonna take care of their house of ill repute? This is a place they've been worshiping idols in for almost a millennium. And you think they care about three churches in Louisiana? They like, look how the white folks come together. No, there's a lot of billionaires involved with that.
Yeah, you're overseas, so that's $100 million. To us, that's all good.
Well, I just seen a dude talk about some of the richest people on the earth that people don't even talk about. Like the one person, they say like the Rothschild family, it was like, you know, they could be worth anywhere from 700 billion to 1.4 trillion, but nobody really knows. There's a Saudi prince that's worth $1.4 trillion. You know what I'm saying? There's people who got a lot of money for a lot of things, and they feel like, well, why they don't wipe out world hunger? And why they don't do this? Because they're not supposed to. You know what I'm saying? On top of that, and then when you look at the will of Yahuwah, his word has to be performed. He already talked about these rich people and what they would do. He already told you this. So why would you be shocked? He told you that they're going to die with their money. Indeed, because I could care less about them. Let them people, that's their house of pagonomics, pageantry, pageantry, and everything else you can come up with. Leave them alone and let them have it. You know what I'm saying? But as she just stated, and it's just what's in Lamentations of Jeremiah, you're looking for people that cannot save you. That's what you're looking for. Them people can't save you.
Sure.
Revelation 18:2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul ruach, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. The merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from Shamahim saying, Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, that you receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Alahym have remembered her iniquities. So when you sit back and you look at that, he's telling you to come out and not be around the unclean things, because he's going to have to execute wrath upon it. He's going to have to do it. And if you in it with him, he's not going to make the difference. Matter of fact, come to 2 Corinthians chapter 6. You got to look at it like this. What did Abraham say that Yah wouldn't do when he was asking him not to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah? He posed a question to Yah saying, would you do this? And does anybody recall what that was? But now he said, would you destroy the righteous with the wicked? So what did he give the people, Abraham, an opportunity to say, if there's X amount of righteous people there, I will get them out of there. I will have them come out from amongst them and be separate, so that my wrath don't fall upon them, because Yah is not unrighteous. He's not going to destroy the righteous with the wicked. But if you stay from amongst the wicked, then he has no choice but to destroy you, because you didn't set yourself apart. You know what I'm saying? You have to look at that, because that's in there. You go read that. What is it, Genesis 19? But in that situation where he was, let's just read it for ourselves. Let's just do that. Somebody might not know this. Somebody might know. Genesis chapter 19. Well, Genesis 18, actually. (18 and 23). We'll make it 18 and 20. And Yahuwah said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me, and if not, I will know. And the men turned their faces from this and went toward Sodom, but But Abraham stood yet before Yahuwah. And Abraham drew near and said, will you also destroy the righteous with the wicked? He asked him that question. Will you destroy the righteous with the wicked? Now, it says that Yahuwah is the Alahym of judgment. Would that be just judgment for him to do such a thing? Absolutely not. Hold on, let me see something real quick. No, I don't want to use that. Let me see what this about. So when you look at that, right? Now let's look at the next thing Abraham said. Let me do that. He said, peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city, will you also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from you to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked, that be far from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? Yahuwah said, if I find Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. And of course, we know he found no one. It wasn't nobody there but Lot. And what did he have happen with Lot? He separated Lot from up out of there. That's why I mentioned his wife passing, because she didn't want to separate herself. She wanted to touch the unclean thing, so therefore you had to die. So if you want to perfect Qadashness in the fear of Alahym, you have to be willing to come out from among them and not touch the unclean thing. You can't straddle the fence of I'm in the world, I'm in the faith, I'm with the saints, I'm with the sinners. You can't do that. You got to come out from among them or stay amongst them. That's how, you know what, Yah, there is no gray area. He is black and white. You know what I'm saying? He really don't care how you feel. He don't really care how you view it. You know what I'm saying? And then you remember what we read, let us choose ourselves judgment so we can do that which is right. And Abraham said, shouldn't the judge of all the earth do right? It ain't right to kill the righteous with the wicked. He said, you know what, you right. Give me 50, I won't do it. Give me 40, I won't do it. Give me 30, I won't do it. Give me 20, I won't do it. He said, Abraham, this ain't bumping, man. This save my nephew. Because ain't nobody around. Come on back to 2 Corinthians chapter 6. Read verse 17 again. Wherefore come out from among them, and be you separate, saith Yahuwah. Touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be an Abba unto you. And you shall be my sons and daughters, saith Yahuwah Almighty. So this is when he said, having therefore these promises, dearly beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and ruach, perfecting Qadash in the fear of Alahym. So when we look at something, let's take ourselves to 2 Chronicles chapter 8 when we talk about perfecting. 2 Chronicles chapter 8. So notice what he said, that we have these promises. What was the promise that was contained, what we just read? It might have been some more promises in 2 Corinthians chapter 6. Let me make sure it ain't more. What was the promise that you see he just made in the verses that we read from 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14 all the way to 18? What did he promise you? He'll receive you if you do what?
Separate yourself.
So his promise is I'll make you one of my children if you separate. I mean, he promised you that if you do that. You know what I'm saying? This is the very thing that he did with Abraham. He made a promise to him because he set himself apart, which showed himself to be a child of the Ruach and not of the flesh, which is all what Passover was really about. Passover was the beginning of the separation of the children of the flesh and the children of the Ruach, the children of the world and the children of heaven, the children of Alahym and the children of the serpent. That is what happened. 2 Chronicles chapter 8 and verse 12. Matter of fact, make it 11. Solomon brought up the daughter of Pharaoh out of the city of David unto the house that he had built for her. For he said, my wife shall not dwell in the house of David, king of Yasharal, because the places of Qadash, whereunto the ark of Yahuwah have come. Now, according to the law, why would Solomon say that? because she's a foreign-born woman, so she can't come near to none of that. This is also showing you what's written in Ephesians chapter 2, where he talking about he done tore down that middle wall of partition, which separate us from him. Because you can't even, I got to build a separate house for you. You can't even come in here. You know what I'm saying? He had enough sense to do that. He just ain't have enough sense not to marry that strange woman. He liked that Miss Raheem boo. Should have left her right there where he found her at. Because he ended up worshiping their gods, fooling with them. And that's another reason why you got to be set apart. Because I don't care how strong you think you is. I don't care how wise you think you are. Mess with them sinners like that if you want to, and they're going to trip you up. That's what the word say. It's not what I say. You hang around, and like I said, man, people always said, people you around the most is who you're going to become like. And if you kick it with sinners on a regular basis, they're going to entice and persuade you to sin. That's what they're going to do. But you know what we get in our minds? That ain't going to happen to me. See, I'm strong. No, you're an unbeliever and you disobedient because your God told you not to do that. You know why he told you not to do that? Because he know that you dust and ashes and that the flesh is weak. He told you that in Deuteronomy when he told you not to marry them women because he said, "I'll turn your heart from following me." That was what his concern was. That's a persuasion. That's why I mentioned that it's in one of the epistle letters. Paul said, you know, that persuasion that come, he said, who should hinder you that you should not obey the truth? That persuasion don't come from him that called you. And that's taking us also back to when he said he'll corrupt you by flatteries in Daniel. They're corrupting you with smooth speech and fine promises. Oh, your God ain't going to do nothing to you about that. It's not going to be a big deal. You can do it. This, that, there, and the third. And that's to turn you again. Next thing you know, you're doing wickedly against the covenant. You know what I'm saying? One little compromise leads to 5. 5 leads to 10. 10 leads to iniquity. Iniquity leads to the lake where the worm dies not and the fire shall not be quenched. It's just that simple. That's why I say just don't fool with them. You know what I'm saying? Because temptation is something else, man. And you really playing with yourself. Hello. You have an ET finger? Very well. Look at the next thing he says. Then Solomon offered burnt offerings unto Yahuwah on the altar of Yahuwah which he had built before the porch. Even after a certain rate every day, according to the commandments of Moses, on the Shabbats, on the new moons, on the solemn feast 3 times a year, and the feast of unleavened bread, and the feast of weeks, and the feast of tabernacles. So let me show y'all something in Numbers 29 so I can show you what I was talking about beforehand, about you ain't supposed to be sacrificing no lamb all the time. Only because that's just mentioned right here in Deuteronomy. I mean, in Chronicles. Make sure I got the right place.
29.
Yeah, Numbers 29, probably about verse 12. No, that's tabernacle offering I'm looking at. My bad. Chapter 28 and verse 16. That's what we want. Numbers 28 and 16. Numbers 28 and 16. It says, in the 14th day of the first month is the Passover of Yahuwah. On the 15th day of the month is the feast. 7 days shall unleavened bread be eaten. And the first day shall be a Qadash convocation. You shall do no manner of servile work therein. But you shall offer a sacrifice made by fire for a burnt offering unto Yahuwah, 2 young bullocks, 1 ram, 7 lambs for the first year. And they shall be unto you without blemish. Their meat offering shall be of flour mingled with oil. 3/10 deals shall you offer for a bullock, and 2/10 deals for a ram. Several 10th deals you shall offer for every lamb throughout the 7 lambs. 1 goat for a sin offering to make atonement for you. And you shall offer these besides the burnt offering in the morning, which is for a continual burnt offering. In this manner shall you offer daily throughout the 7 days the meat of sacrifice made by fire of a sweet savor unto Yahuwah. It shall be offered besides the continual burnt offering and his drink offering. So, were they sacrificing the lamb according to what was in Exodus chapter 12? No. And I also show you how they gathered together and ate every day, because when they made the meat offerings, you know what they did with them later. They just didn't sacrifice all them animals and just be like, we got animals. They sat down and they ate it. You know what I'm saying? You got people who believe that, though. They just think they just sacrificing this stuff and they just got to a storehouse full of cooked meat. No, they sat down and they ate it. But it shows you this here. You are not supposed to be taking a lamb according to Exodus 12. You read Leviticus 23 and tell you the same thing. That was only for when they were in Egypt. Because if you're going to do it, then everybody has to do it at their own house. You know what I'm saying? It's not a congregation thing. You got to do that at your house. Remember, before they did Exodus 12, they wasn't even in the land, so there was no city where he put his name at for them to come to make these continual offerings in the first place. And you people would know this if they actually knew the law. But you read that story and you feel like this is what we're supposed to do, and in actuality, Yah is not pleased. You know what I'm saying? Now, how many people even know that's in the law outside of that? But Leviticus 23 said the same thing. Says the same exact thing. Nevertheless, come on back to 2 Chronicles. And we just look at that because we was already talking about it, and you see what Solomon was doing, making the rate of offerings according to tabernacles, feast of weeks, unleavened bread, doing it just like what Numbers 28 said, or Leviticus 23 said, and Deuteronomy 16 say the same thing. Verse 14. And he appointed according to the order of David his father, the courses of the priests to their service, the Levites to their charges, to praise and minister before the priests, as the duty every day required. The porters also by their courses at every gate. So had David the man of Alahym commanded. And they departed not from the commandment of the king unto the priests and Levites concerning any matter or concerning the treasures. Now all the work of Solomon was prepared until the day of the foundation of the house of Yahuwah until it was finished. And so the house of Yahuwah was perfected. Now the word for perfected here is shalem. Do y'all remember that word? You remember that word? Well, it means to have complete, means to be complete, to be safe, to be peaceful, or a covenant of shalom. So when the foundation of the house was laid, what does that bring to mind for you when you see the foundation of the house? Say when the foundation of the house was laid, the house was perfected.
You said what is it? The land of
Hold on, I'm trying to pull that word up. Give me 1 second. Now the foundation for that word is musad, and of course it means foundation, laying foundation. Is pretty self-explanatory. You got mean, you got you got samak, and you got dalit. So if we got mean, what will we use when we're looking at that mean? Of course, it's laying a foundation. It's taking you to Isaiah 28. You know what I'm saying? Where it tell you that he'll be a sure foundation. Knowing that this is the chief cornerstone, which is what? The foundation of any property that you build. So when he say that the foundation is laid, what is allowing you to be able for that house to be perfected is Yahushua being sacrificed. But again, if we're looking at mean, what would we say? You got blood, you got chaos, and what else you got? Water. So then when we come with that what are we going to look at? You got nail, you got secure, what else you got? Huh? Got your peg, and now you got samak. And you're going to either do what? You're going to grab hold, and what else? Thorns. To support, and then you end with dollars. What you got for that? You got entrance. But remember, this is the foundation being laid. So when was the foundation laid? It was laid upon his death. So when we look at that, we can see how. So when we look at that, we can look at that dollar and see how the we can sit back and look and see how the hanging and the blood of the hanging secured the support of Alahym. Because what does the foundation do? It supports the house, correct? What does Yahushua do? He supports the house. But this is when the house is perfected. This is when the completeness of the covenant of shalom comes. So for that word shalem, you got shan, lamad, and meen. So what would you use in regards to that? Shan, lamad, and a little mem. And remember, this dealing with a covenant of shalom, of completeness, wholeness, peace. You know, covenant of peace is talked about in Ezekiel 37.
Teaching the baby to
Water, blood, it's all the same. There's both of them are saying it's that teaching gonna pair you to life. So when you look at that, you're perfecting Qadashness, you're getting paired to a teaching of life. What did Yahushua say in John 6:63? The words that I speak unto you, they are ruach and they are life. He says the ruach that make alive. So when you look at it in regards of making alive, if you want to perfect yourself, if the work is perfected, you have to pair yourself to that teaching. If you're not pairing, and what did he teach? What are some of the things that he taught? He taught you to believe on the person who sent him. He taught you to sacrifice yourself, but he taught you to trust your Alahym. And he taught you how to, again, it was for the sacrifice, to give up your life. You can only do that by faith. If you don't believe in Yah, you're not going to give up your life. You're going to continually seek your desires and your will and the world, and you're going to perish with it. Let's look at that in Isaiah 50. 51. 51:4. Gotta get some of that. I can get the name of the company. Bring them stickers back. This niggas. This niggas. That white man. Make a product look grade A on the ass. That's what we got around to. Isaiah 51:4. Hearken unto me, my people, and give ear unto me, O my nation. For a Torah shall proceed from me, and I will make my judgment rest for a light of the people. My righteousness is near. My salvation is gone forth. My arms shall judge the people. The isle shall wait upon me, and on my arm shall they trust. Lift up your eyes to the heavens and look upon the earth beneath, for the heavens shall vanish away like smoke, and the earth shall wax old like a garment, and they that dwell therein shall die like manna. But my salvation shall be forever, and my righteousness shall not be abolished. Hearken unto me, you that know righteousness, the people in whose heart is my Torah. Fear you not the reproach of men, neither be afraid of their revilings. So we used to do that all the time. You can't really see out that window because you can't see the earth. But he told you to look up there, right? And then he told you to look at the ground because he said he's going to burn it all up. And he said everything in it going to get burnt up with it. You know what I'm saying? So this is one of the reasons why if we're going to perfect being set apart in the fear of Alahym, you have to remove yourself from that. We'll go back. How did he destroy Sodom and Gomorrah? So that's why we're looking at that. And you see that quote. He said, you're going to destroy the righteous with the wicked. But what set Abraham and Lot apart? It wasn't just their law keeping. It was their faith that set them apart. That's why they were willing to not be partakers in what was going on. You know, Lot was in Sodom and Gomorrah. Remember, they knocked on his door. He said, look here, man, just take my daughter. Because that booty button stuff, we don't do that over here. You know what I'm saying? These men willing to beat the whole door down for men. And you see it now. Come on, man. We just talked about it the other day. Come on, man. That little boy, D-Wade's son out here, a flaming faggot. This boy ain't even got pubic hair yet. A flaming faggot. How's that possible? I just seen a picture. Somebody said these white people out here had at the airport, and they said, look at this crap. Little black boy with a dress on. He looked like he about 8 or 9. You know what I'm saying? And there's many other things that go on a day-to-day basis. You know what I'm saying? That are blasphemous towards your Alahym. And guess what? Y'all got family and friends that's down with a lot of that stuff these people be doing. You may not be aware of it. They may even support it. Of all the blasphemous things that go on, that's how they feel about Yah. You know, we used to be told when I was younger, they used to tell me all the time, don't talk about two things, politics and religion. You know why people tell you not to talk about politics and religion? Why do you think people tell you don't discuss those two topics? It ain't even the views, because people gonna have different views. They get emotional about it. Most of the time when you have those conversations, people don't sit down and have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Their emotions get involved and they react off their emotions, and that's how conversations turn into debates and arguments and get heated because someone has gotten emotional. You know what I'm saying? Those who are spiritual, they can control their emotions to the point, like every last one of us should be mature enough to have a conversation with somebody that has a divergent point of view. If you can't have a conversation with someone that has a divergent point of view, you have to assess your level of maturity, because it shouldn't offend you because someone has a different viewpoint than you. Do you know what I'm saying? That's why I mentioned that with a lot of Hebrews, how they get upset and they get all like this, that, and the third. Like it's okay to disagree, bro. It's not that big of a deal. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna walk off and be like, nigga, I don't like that nigga. He don't believe this here. There's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with him. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't care for them either, but I've had conversations with homosexuals, and I done told them to his face, I don't agree with nothing you doing, and according to my God, you going to hell. And me and him didn't get no knockdown, drag out conversation. I don't have to get emotional about this here. Like, I hate faggots. I mean, come on, bro. How's that going to win him to y'all conducting yourself in that fashion? It's not. You know what I'm saying? It's not. At the end of the day, this is the thing we forget. You're supposed to be winning souls. It ain't even about bringing people to your congregation, getting numbers of people to watch your videos. It ain't about how many people can show up to your events. You're supposed to be winning souls to Yah. So you have to get your emotions in check. But do you have as much disdain for an adulterer or a liar as you do a homosexual? Because if you don't, you're a hypocrite. You should be just as angry at an adulterer as you is at a punk. What's the difference? Ain't now. Are you that upset with an idolater? You know what I'm saying? What about, would you get that angry with a dude that like to have sex with his wife while she on her menstrual? Because in the outside of you, it's all the same. Do you know what I'm saying? It ain't no difference. He ain't gonna look at, that nigga that extra nasty. That nigga's a punk. But it's okay over there for this nigga over here sleeping with his auntie. That don't bother me. You know what I'm saying? You supposed to be offended at all of it, but yet compassionate and understanding enough to rebuke and still hear where they come. Like, you got people that really believe they born gay. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna let you believe that. You know what I'm saying? Because you ain't come out the womb talking about you wanted some sausage. You ain't come out the womb talking about you wanted the bump coochies. You didn't come out the womb wanting to do that. You got women that have 4 or 5 kids and now they're a bulldagger. How does that work? Then you know what they end up finding out? The studs cheat on them just like the men do. Do you know how sick these women is to actually mimic sexual relations? That penis is not attached. There's no nerve endings on that. You don't feel any of it. You know what I'm saying? But they be around here mimicking like that should show you how that's a strong delusion. You know how deluded you got to be in your head to have on a prosthetic penis and act like you feel some pleasure? Oh, I seen a video with that one. There, somebody told her she wasn't no man. She pulled her strap on out. Well, how much meat you want? How much you want? That is a strong delusion. You are deluded in your brain because you convince yourself that ain't nothing wrong with what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? But it just don't stop. See, we use that as an extreme because everybody look at homosexuality as an oddity. You got to remember, until the late 70s, it was considered to be a psychiatric disorder. You ain't know that? How many of y'all in here knew that? Yeah. To the late 70s, you were considered, they would put you on psych meds if you said you was a punk. You know what I'm saying? They're serious, man. They put you on some old Seroquel. Something wrong with that nigga. Oh yeah, it's full blown. It's out here now. I told you. 1998, that's when the Ellen Show came out. And after that, it's been punks on TV ever since. Huh? Yeah, that's the first time. I can remember the first homosexuals on TV. The first 3 things they did on that end is, I forget the ugly white woman comedian. She kissed Roseanne on the Roseanne Show. There was the dude Pedro, the AIDS carrying homosexual on the Real World, and then they came with Ellen. And then when Ellen was popular, they came with Will and Grace. And then after that, they just.
Oh my God, I still love Will and Grace.
They roll it on.
Oh my God.
And they brought it back.
They did. I'm like,
And they brought it back. You know why they bring some of these shows back? To program the generation that came after, because you know what they're looking at? I used to love Will and Grace. You share it with your kids. You know what I'm saying? Now they get the programming that you got. That's what they do. Yeah, it's programming. You know what I'm saying? It's programmed. That's why I told, irregardless if that nigga got killed, Nipsey Hussle got killed or not, it's the same programming what they doing with a Mashiach archetype to cause you to worship men. You know what I'm saying? So when the time comes, you'll worship the last man whose number is 666. That's whether he's dead or not. You know what I'm saying? That was a programming. That's mental conditioning, and they do it from generation to generation periodically. You know what I'm saying? Give you somebody to build somebody up for you to love them and worship them. Take them out. Give you this crucified martyr so that you'll accept them. You know what I'm saying? It never fails. You know, they do it every about 10 to 15 years. You know what I'm saying? Some are a little bit more out there than others. Like on the other side of the world, Gaddafi was seen as a martyr in a Messiah archetype. It wasn't played out over here, but Muammar Gaddafi. But in the media over there, that's how it was played, that he was a martyr. He was going to make the African currency and the African Union and separate from this and separate from that, and they made him a Mashiach archetype. But Muammar Gaddafi was in power when Ronald Reagan was president. You know what I'm saying? So he wasn't somebody who just popped up out the blue out of nowhere. He'd been over there. And once his role was no longer needed, we take you out, and they use the propaganda on the Western Hemisphere one way and on the Eastern Hemisphere another way. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, because for them it was more about freedom and power.
And they never killed him. They tried. It's all propaganda. Them people make you think them countries be so bad, that don't even be that bad. Or they'll have you thinking so many people leaving, ain't even that many people leaving. And niggas will argue, it's 50,000 people leaving. Well, how you know that? Because the news said it. Just go get it your way. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't say that these people are evil and wicked and then trust what they say. And you can't verify that they're your source. That's one of the reasons why they hate the era that we live in now. Because you got to remember, when I was a kid, you only could get your news from 3 places. You know what I'm saying? Or let's say 4. 6 o'clock local news, your 6 o'clock local evening news, your 6:30 national news. If you had cable, you had CNN or Fox and your newspaper, and that was it. You know what I'm saying? So you had to buy whatever narrative that they were pushing. You know what I'm saying? Now you got to, sun can go down and you can go right there and report live on the street, and you could be showing that the narrative that they pushing on the news, this is not what's really going on. I'm out here. You couldn't do that 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? We live in a different time. That's why they were trying to regulate what's on the internet, because it conflicts with the narrative. Nevertheless, let's come back to over here to 2 Chronicles chapter 24. Because you got a lot of people who actually believe a lot of the news people on the national level and even on the local level work for the CIA. Leave that alone. Put it down. That don't belong to you, and it wasn't bothering you. I wouldn't be shocked they work for the CIA. A lot of them, you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't know a CIA operative anyway. When you saw them, they're not going to tell you. We probably been watching CIA operatives on TV our whole life and ain't even know. Oh, the Drew Carey show?
No, when I was watching him, what's this movie?
Oh, I never seen it.
I feel like that and the Hunger Games is just the world we live in right now. Jim Carrey, Hunger Games for real.
Shoot, the Truman Show. I put it this way before we continue. Like a lot of people really felt like with Nipsey Hussle death, they felt like it was a psyop, that they was really sizing and disrespecting our intelligence and how they played it. Just how simple and sloppy of a production that those who on that side of the fence felt it was, or how they really it's like they feel like they're not even trying no more. You know what I'm saying? To the point that they know you just gonna believe it because I told you that. Absolutely. Absolutely. What it's saying is you have a lot of people who feel like disrespected, their intelligence has been disrespected for like what they did with Nipsey's circumstances with his death, because they feel like it was such a low budget production and they didn't put any effort into it, that because they felt like they could pick out so many holes in it that they felt like, come on, bro, they're not even trying anymore. It did. No, even with 9/11, that's a complete insult to your intelligence. But we're gonna leave that where that's at. But like I said, if you looked at it and you was like the one of the biggest things they felt like was disrespectful was the EMT doing the one hand chest compressions. You know what I'm saying? Nobody rolls over someone who's been shot in the head. That's not proper CPR. You don't do that. But the one hand compressions, like, nigga, what is you doing? You know what I'm saying? How is you gonna say this nigga doing this? And when people see that, they like, come on, my nigga, really? Like, y'all really gonna do us like y'all not even trying? At least convince, like, people like to say, if you're gonna lie to me, make the lie good. And that's why a lot of them feel like it wasn't real. When I see, like I said, I done took CPR classes. They definitely taught me to put one hand over this one here and do this here.
So the lie is
some people don't. I don't know if the nigga dead or not. Some people don't believe he dead. I know they said they had a viewing of his body before the funeral, and it was top secret, and nobody could come in there. Only his family and friends. And then after the funeral, they took his body back to the funeral home, and then they buried him in a private plot in a cemetery in Holiday Hills or Hollywood Hills, whatever they call it.
And they say like white Jesus smoking with the nigga, like at his casket. So niggas like him got access to see his body.
I don't know who had access to see his body. You know what I'm saying?
Y'all see, but you know what I'm talking about though, like white Jesus.
I have no idea what it's just a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff with it popped up in my YouTube feed on the contrary side of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, one nigga went hard because the dude who's supposed to be paralyzed ended up on Vlad TV. And I know Vlad worked for the feds. That's a guarantee. Not work for the feds like he trying to trip niggas up to get them to tell on themselves, but that he worked for the feds to push certain narratives. And you got a lot of people who were screaming that they don't believe that situation was real. And now all of a sudden, this nigga is, which I know is phony because you can't three-way call in jail. They will hang your call up. And this nigga was on a three-way call with Vlad and Big U. You can't do three-way calls in the county. If they catch you, they gonna click your phone off. You know what I'm saying? You could do it for a little bit, but that nigga was on there for 30 minutes. Your call's only 15. So unless he edited it, that wasn't no real phone call. You can't talk on no jail phone 30 minutes straight. That I know. You know what I'm saying? I know that from personal experience. They're 15-minute calls. You know what I'm saying? And you just can't be on no jail phone piping. Only way he'd be able to do that is if he had a cell phone in there, which is likely because there's a lot of cell phones in there these days. Now that is possible. You know what I'm saying? But it's just certain things. It was just like people was coming out saying that Pop junk wasn't real. All of a sudden, Vlad doing interviews with everybody related to Pop. You know what I'm saying? Pushing that narrative. And I think it really came when Too Short went on there and said, man, that nigga ain't dead, cuz. You believe everything that people tell you? Next thing you know, he was doing Mob James, and he was bringing Tretch and bringing all these niggas on to push that narrative. You know what I'm saying? Vlad come from the industry. Nigga know he worked for them crackers. Now, he ain't got nothing to do with niggas like Rallo and A-Rap coming on there telling on themselves. Them niggas did that to themselves. If them niggas even locked up. One thing about it, man, the people play with your brain.
So don't that make everything he stood for, like by him saying he is not dead.
I don't know what he stood for because I know nothing of the man's career or work.
Yeah, I'm just saying based off of third party information saying like how he this and that, like him pulling a fake move like that, that's a sucker move.
It's not a sucker move if I was sold out from the jump street. I just played my role.
I don't know what Ghost Riders are. They had new material.
Indeed. You know what I'm saying? But I can't say, I'm trying to remember the name of the organization, but there is an organization that's affiliated with the United States government that comes up with the things for the culture, how people, the music, how people dress. You know what I'm saying? It's just a whole bunch of people sit around in a room and put this stuff together and put it out to the public. I can't remember. It might be. I can't remember. It's been a while since I heard it. But it's like a real government think tank. They kind of showed it. What's that movie?
They had on the Simpsons.
No. What's that group you used to like a lot? The girl group. They used to sing. And they had
Josie and the Pussycats?
They had that in their movie. They showed that in that movie.
That is so true.
They showed that in that movie.
With the music,
That's what it was.
Recording the music, and playing it back, and that, like.
Yeah, I couldn't remember their name.
No, I watched it.
You know what I'm saying? But there's an instance where they show in that film a whole bunch of white men sitting in the room, coming up with what they were going to put out there to slang. Don't you notice how slang shifts every few years? Like this stuff ain't, we think it'd be organic, but how would you really know? Do you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of things that we see occur. And it's not just with culture, because that stuff in the Arab Spring that happened over there in the Middle East a few years back. How do we really even know this type of stuff is organic when it's been shown that there has not been a single organic war in the history of mankind? That they all been engineered. The French Revolution was engineered. The Russian Revolution was engineered. World War I and II was engineered. The Vietnam War was engineered. There was somebody behind it because they were trying to do something to produce a particular result in the people. So then if you know they'll do that with war where people are really dying, and we know they did it with religion, we know this. To corrupt you spiritually, then you have to know that they would do that culturally with music and television and movies. You have to know that. You can't be that simple enough. I've never seen The Hunger Games.
All of them.
Probably not gonna.
I mean, but what you saying is basically what they get people, they put them up, they make them famous, and they do that to start people. Yeah, that's very good.
I don't even watch movies, but that's the movie.
Yeah, it's like 3 or 4.
You know what I mean? But and that's how and they showing you what they do to you. Because you know what they call us? They call us bottom feeders. That's what they call us. Well, not the famous people, but the powers that be. They look at the regular public. They literally refer to us as bottom feeders. So, and I'm mentioning all that because that's the point of why Yahuwah says to come out from among them and be separate. You know what I'm saying? You got to come out from among them, because if not, you're going to be touching the unclean things. And if you're touching the unclean things, then he ain't going to have no choice but to take you out. You know what I'm saying? And this is and your perfecting your Qadashness is due to your level of faith. You believe those promises, you're going to come out. See, Lot's wife didn't believe the promise. That's why she didn't come out. Lot believed it, so I'm out. Nevertheless, 2 Chronicles chapter 24, by verse 8. And at the king's commandment, they made a chest and set it without at the gate of the house of Yahuwah. They made a proclamation through Yehuda and Jerusalem to bring into Yahuwah the collection that Moses, the servant of Alahym, laid upon Yasharal in the wilderness. All the princes and all the people rejoiced and brought in and cast into the chest until they made an end. Now it came to pass that at what time the chest was brought into the king's office by the hand of the Levites. And when they saw that there was much money, the king's scribes and the high priest officer came and emptied the chest and took it and carried it to his place again. Thus they did day by day and gathered money in abundance. And the king of Yehuda gave it to such as did the work of the service of the house of Yahuwah, and hired masons and carpenters to repair the house of Yahuwah, and also such as wrought iron and brass to mend the house of Yahuwah. So if you didn't want, for one section right there, if you didn't know why Yahusha was a carpenter, you know it now. You know what I'm saying? Because he said we had to hire them to build the house. And who did Yah hire to build his house? His son. So the workmen wrought, and the work was perfected by them, and set the house of Alahym in its state and strengthened it. Now let's pull the word from the state. I already got the word for perfect.
Hey,
We're 2 Chronicles chapter 24. Just finished by verse 13. Now, when we look at the word state, this means to be measurement or proportion. So he said it according to his measure. If you remember what's in John chapter 4, it said, Alahym don't give the Ruach by measure unto him. So there's a certain measure of faith that you have to be able to have that he's going to measure, strengthen you, and perfect it. Now, the word for perfect here is Arkur. You got the Aleph, the Rosh, the U, the Kaf, and the Hay. And it means to heal and to restore. So when you look at this, how could we not be able to state, and this goes back to what we were talking about in Psalms chapter 4, right? How he said he was going to heal him while he was languishing on his bed, turn him and transform him. See, this is a conversation we mentioned the other day, right? And I tell y'all this in this dead serious. You can't really perfect your Qadashness if you do not lay your burdens down. See, your burdens ain't just your sins. Your burdens are whatever you are carrying. See, in Hebrews chapter 12, it said, let us lay aside every weight and the sin. Notice it said weight and sin. Matter of fact, I'm going to just read it because there's some stuff that come in before that. That's prevalent and relevant at this particular time. Hebrews 12 and 1. That word's got the Aleph, the Rosh, the U, the Kaf, and the Hay in it. Hebrews 12 and 1. He's saying, wherefore, seeing also we are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which do easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Notice how it says that the weight and the sin are two separate things. See, a lot of people carrying baggage, and it's holding them back. Do y'all remember what happened when Paul then was on that ship? Y'all know about that story when Paul was on the ship? You know about that story? What happened with Paul on the ship? Could you share that with me?
They start throwing stuff off so the ship won't sink.
So the ship wouldn't sink. A lot of people are sinking because you got stuff that's on your ship that you still carrying, whatever that trauma might be, and you got to get rid of it. You can't be walking around holding that stuff and think you're going to get the Ruach HaKadosh and you got all that stuff in you. He can't dwell in that. You think y'all can dwell in that? You know why y'all can't dwell in that? Because that stuff uncleanliness. You know why it's uncleanliness? Because see, you go, like we were talking about the other day, right? If you got traumas, you know what it's all it's going to take for your traumas to manifest? Just an emotional trigger. And the law of Alahym, the carnal mind is not subject to the Torah Alahym, neither indeed can be. Because if you're carnally minded, you shall die. But the spiritual mind is life and shalom. That's what it tell you. So if you carrying around stuff and you haven't laid, he told you to lay your burdens down at his feet. That's why he tell you to confess your faults. Faults ain't just sins. The reason why I state that is because if you have those and that trigger come, that trigger could cause you to defile yourself. You know what I'm saying? If you know you got that in you, that's all it's going to take. Meaning that there's going to be a temptation that rises, and if that is a weakness for you, you may not be able to overcome that temptation. And now, when temptation comes forth, then comes sin, and when sin comes, then come death. People don't like to have those conversations because if the person who preaching the word got traumas, and I'm talking to you about yours, I have to face mine. And if I don't want to face mine, then I want to have that conversation. And that's why amongst our people in these days and times, that's why I get swept under the rug. And the brother literally told me, he said, that's why there's been a disconnect with the stuff I've been hearing in my service. Because he said, I ain't even realized I was carrying all this stuff with me, man. You know what I'm saying? And it was not allowing the word to penetrate my heart. I know a lot of stuff, but it ain't in my heart. And it's like, hey, it ain't doing you no purpose. It ain't serving you no purpose. I mentioned that the other day. That meme was apropos. It got to go from being highlighted in your book to being written on your heart. That's what he said he's trying to do. How is he going to write the word in your heart if you got abandonment issues in your heart? That means you're going to feel like y'all going to abandon you, so you'll never fully trust him. You know what I'm saying? If somebody done did this to you, or you've been molested, or you've been beaten on, or you know what I'm saying, whatever the case may be, you never yourself over to him because you ain't even got enough confidence to give that to him. So how is he going to heal you and restore you? He can't heal you and restore you because you still holding on to it. All you got to do is let it go. What you think he gonna keep talking to you about it? Remember that time that person beat you up? Nah, he gonna tell you, remember that time I delivered you from this and that? That's all you wanted to do. We're going to wave to him. You want to wave? We'll wave to him then. That's all you want to do. I gave you your moment. That's all you want to do. Yeah. We have to think about that. You know what I mean? Because that stuff's serious though. Because how you gonna be to perfect being set apart in the fear of Alahym? That, and again, when you remove all this stuff, this is when you can fully give yourself to him. You know what I'm saying? Why you think it be so? No. That's not a Torah. Why do you think it be so hard for some people to fully give themselves over to another person? Because if they got trust issues, then they never gonna be able to trust another person. And that's why people hold themselves back from y'all, because you got trust issues with man, so now you don't want to trust y'all. Like y'all did something to you. Y'all ain't never did nothing to you. He ain't never did nothing to you, but you know how people walk around, if there was a God, why this happened to me? And that's why you walk around with it, though you claim you believe and you serve it, because you ain't really reconciled and realized that.
I feel like they do that because of the doctrine that was put out, like y'all protect all these people, protect all these people. You're not going to let this happen.
Indeed.
Like that doctrine is miscommunication.
I agree, because they say he take care of thick fools and babies, and that man say he don't take care of damn fool. And he say the children of the wicked made for the sword, so that's a contradiction. It's called a sleeper hole. Go to sleep. That's what you, when he don't go to sleep, put a nigga in a sleeper hole. Oh yeah, I put that in there for a reason. Y'all show better about him, the good old harvest. Give him some melatonin. It's gonna do more than that Robitussin did, or whatever that was you gave him. That's always gonna put him nigga to sleep. Cause had me tripping, he shook Jit was out of there. Get up. They ain't had that part on there. There was a video of it after he gave it to his son. That nigga was out of there. You know what I'm saying? Come on now, you gotta sit down for me, son. We almost done. Sit down right here for me. We almost done. You know what I'm saying? But you have to look at that, because what did Yahushua came to do? He said, him that's sick, he that is healed don't need a physician, but him that is sick. It's no different than a lot of dudes don't like to talk about sin, because if he got sin, he got to face his own. You know what I'm saying? You can't begin to help nobody heal till you done healed yourself. And if you ain't walking around with no problems or issues, then it's easy. You'll be able to face somebody with theirs. Because there's a lot of people in the world, they ain't getting where they want to get at, because you ain't dealing with no sins, you dealing with you and whatever happened to you. And you just feel like time will fix it. I don't know who told you that, but they lied to you. Time heal our wounds is a lie from hell. Do you know what I'm saying? You have to effectively confront it, deal with it, and then it'll be healed. If not, it's just a matter of time. It might take 2 years, it might take 20. Do you know what I'm saying? But it's gonna come out. You seen how evil Absalom was. He worked on that lie for 40 years. For 40 years. That's a long time to work on a lie. Most niggas work on a lie for 40 years. And it was, and he was cool with that. We surrounded by people who hold life a lie. Word or no word. Word or no word. You know what I mean? Whole life a lie. And they love every minute of it. And that's one of the reasons why I be mentioning like this here, man, hey man, you deal with popular culture, that's your business. But don't get wrapped up in it, because at that point you live in a lie. These people are characters. I don't care what you say. Characters hired by the government to play a role. All them niggas work for the feds. Every last one of them. Ain't none of them exempt. Every athlete, every entertainer, every musician. In this country, well, them crackers not letting anybody get in front of them cameras. Not nobody they can't control. They're not doing it. You know what I'm saying? These people are not handing $40-50 million in influence to somebody they can't, because it's not just the money. It's the influence. So if they feel like somebody got too much influence, they're going to get you out of here. Or they allow him to have a certain amount of influence for their aim, and we kill your character off and send you off somewhere else. I just seen a video this morning, and I never thought about it. I didn't give too much credence to the way he was going with it. That Megan Kelly looked like Nicole Brown Simpson, and she really do. That nigga was like, she ain't dead. That's Nicole Brown. I don't know if that's Nicole Brown, but she do look like her. And like he did like a little CGI, like putting their faces over each other. Their facial features were extremely and eerily accurately similar.
So I did the whole OJ thing.
Yeah, I don't know, but I would say like I never thought about Megan Kelly. And then she Nicole Brown would be very, very old at this point.
Yeah, she would be on.
You know what I'm saying? She would definitely be in her 70s. But you know what I'm saying? That's why I decided to give it much credence. But I was looking at her like, dang, she really do look like Nicole Brown. You know what I'm saying? Oh, there's a favorite. There was a favorite. Well, because he had both of their pictures side by side. So I was like, yeah, she do kind of look like her. But then, that's going a little far. Megan Kelly don't look that old. And white women don't age too gracefully. So
It's the bed that got brought. That paid the
the feds locked him up.
Nah, they got off. They dropped charges.
Well, I mean, the shooter, Chicago PD let it go.
He know Michelle Obama.
They might have did shoot. They might have went around there and topped somebody off. They go down for him. You know what I'm saying? Come over here, give me that smoking Jesse. He said, I'll be around there in a little bit. I'd have did that for free.
The mayor, she blew this and she dropped charges.
I know they was. Somebody above her told her this above your pay grade, baby. Now you handle that. Yeah, you handle that. You handle. Now I'm gonna be honest too. Now they put a lot of stuff in movies and TV that be just propaganda to make you think that something is and it ain't. Oh no! I wasn't talking about that. I'm talking about like say I forgot like what somebody said. What really brought the buildings down on 9/11, but it'd be like disinformation or stuff they put in movies. Like they got lasers and they like a lot of that technology. They put in crackers ain't got all that. We get them crackers way too much credit. Them crackers that put that stuff. Want you to believe they got all that down. They ain't dealing with nothing but bullets. That's what they like. And stuff. Now they did perfect that because they definitely did a Tupac hologram at Coachella. Yeah, they did that one. No, I'm talking about like with laser guns, things like they got all them type of guns. White people futuristic. Psychologically, a gun is symbolic to a penis. And they don't want to go off on that. That's what they into. That's what they like. My nigga, he got the rebound for me. Put it back. Well, let's look at that word. What y'all got? Aleph, Rosh, Ud, Kaf, and Hey. If you're gonna come with that Aleph, I would say we would need to use strong, because you got to have some strength to heal yourself. Come with that Rosh, I say that the chief, the strength of the chief, or behold, the strength of the chief will secure. You see what I'm saying? So let's look at it. John 17. So when you look at it, he said that they perfected the house. Before we got to do that, because he was talking about the workers of the house. So I need to go to Ephesians chapter 4 first. Who that is crying like that? Malia just having a bad day. Oh, you don't want to listen, so now your butt home. Four and 8.
Start that quiet.
Ephesians 4 and 8. Wherefore he say, when he ascended up on high, he led captivity captive and gave gifts unto men. Now that he ascended, what is it? But that he also descended first into the lower parts of the earth. He that descended is the same also that ascended up far above all heavens, that he might fill all things. And he gave some apostles and some prophets and some evangelists and some pastors and teachers for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, and for the edifying of the body of Mashiach. Till we all come in the unity of the faith and the knowledge of the Son of Alahym, unto a perfect man, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of a Mashiach, that we henceforth be no more children tossed to and fro, carried about with every wind of doctrine by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. So he's telling you that he set apart certain men in certain positions for the specific purpose of perfecting the saints. So for you to perfect yourself in Qadashness, and he noticed that he mentioned that till you come into the knowledge of the son of Alahym, which allows you to actually perfect Qadashness in the fear of Alahym. In the Epistle to Hebrews, it stated that Mashiach was heard because he feared. His level of respect and reverence for his father is what got him to be heard. See, I have some other stuff that we're not going to get to today. We have to get to it on tomorrow, on the next time. But the word for fear is Yerah. Let me find that where I got that. I had it somewhere. I can't. I can pull it up in another place. Now the characters for that Yerah, for fear, is Yad, Rosh, and Ab. So when you look at that fear that Yahusha had, or the reverence or respect for his father, this is one of the, because you can't perfect the Qadashness without the fear of Alahym, which we gonna probably slide into that this week, most high willing, because it tells you in Proverbs that the fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom. You can't even begin to have the skill to know how to move if you don't respect and reverence how he's telling you how to move. Job 28 say the fear of Alahym is the beginning, is also understanding. So when you also have that respect and reverence for him, you get the insight and the ability to understand why he's telling you to move in a particular fashion. But it also, notice in Ephesians chapter 4, it says once you're perfected, you're not tossed to and fro, and you're not able to be deceived by people who sitting around looking to deceive. Why? Because as the ear tries words like the mouth tastes meat, you able to know your Alahym, you know you're a deceiver, you're a liar. When you're able to become spiritual and not carnal, then you can discern. Do that, you can get deceived. Because like I said, we're going to go further into it and see what happens to those who perfected the fear of Alahym and perfected their Qadashness, and what's going to happen to them in the end is relating to contending with those who don't keep the law. Things that pertain to purging and being refined. Because in order to be perfected, you're going to have to be purged and you're going to have to be refined. But you're going to get help in the midst of that. And we'll see that the same token as Yahusha got some help. But we got to slide right now because we ain't got that much longer to be in this place. So, hallelujah for Yahusha and the word. Bless everybody in the house of Yah, name of Yahusha. Appreciate your time. But again, we'll be continuing down that road of perfecting Qadashness in the fear of Alahym, and that perfecting is coming for one reason and one reason alone, because you believe and trust in all the promises that Alahym has made. And I just want y'all to keep that in mind, that Abraham wasn't deemed righteous just for our sake only, but for his sake, but for our sake as well. If we believe that on him who raised Yahusha from the dead, if you understand the correlation between the deadness of her womb and the deadness of the womb which Yahusha would put in, which would have been that new tomb. But blessings to y'all at the house of Yahuwah in the name of Yahusha. Yahuwah willing, catch you on the next one. But we out.